Dr. Draw. Welcome
Hey,
to.
buddy.
How's it going, man?
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Hi, you're
It's
welcome. Welcome to Everything But the Song podcast. It's a brand new podcast that I'm doing, inspired by
nice.
our mutual friend Mike's podcast. I don't know if he told you about it, but basically, it's what the name implies. His podcast is everything. All about the song,
Yeah,
everything but the song.
exactly.
I don't know where we're gonna end up with it, but it's a very experimental format still. So yeah,
Nice. Let's do it. Let's do it.
you're a part of the experiment.
Perfect. I am an experiment. Overall.
I like that. I like experimental people. So
Awesome.
uh, please, just for listeners and viewers who don't necessarily know who you are and what you do, please give us just like a little background. I know you were obviously you play violin, and I did some
Yeah.
research and listened to some of your stuff. It's awesome, by the way, and I've seen some social media footage of your live shows, mainly through Mike, and I was like, "Damn, I should have been there." But
Awesome.
yeah, please tell those who don't know about you.
Okay. Well, first name Eugene, last name Draw. I go as Dr.Draw, Canadian, Russian Canadian electric violinist since like mid 90s. Previous busker, now mostly a touring recording artist. Well, not touring at the moment. I'm just touring from my bedroom to my kitchen these days. Um, but anyways, it's like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm a restless artist that is just constantly pursuing his dreams. Um,
That doesn't sound
it's a
bad.
full yeah, it's a full-time career. I can't take a day off. If I do, then I'm haunted by like the brain is like you waste your life. It's like it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, that's I feel like that's a lot of people who are sort of doing this for a living and are, there's some sort of a pursuit. It's not just a job. It's not just an art. It's also like there's a hustle that's involved in it, and it's like
Exactly.
every day you have to get up and you have to constantly think of the next thing you're going to do and how you're going to do it and how it's going to actually support your life. um
Absolutely.
yeah, I share the same, relatively the same kind of situation. And yeah, I feel for you. It's especially if you're like you're basically managing your own business at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, I've had good guidance before, and I still have like a few people that I can reach out in case I have some questions.
Mhm.
But like this industry is it's a very improvisational kind of industry. You're kind of improvising through life, adapting to different changes. And then you always have the aspect of your own integrity. So there's some things on like how much do I adapt and how much do I retain.
How much do I
So
change?
it's
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, it's an interesting industry, like because it's when it's not really an industry, it's more of like a lifestyle in a sense. So
I really like that. I think I've said it in many occasions in not the same words, but the word industry is a very loaded term when it comes to what we do, where it's
exactly.
also that you're absolutely right. It's a lifestyle, and yeah, please expand on that.
Well, no, well, it's a daily routine, basically like the thesis of your of your podcast. It's like it starts comes up with what do you do to motivate yourself on a daily basis? How do you fight against external forces that or internal forces as well? It's like because it is like you do have to have some sort of schedule that has to be regular, and life can get tough, but you got to keep on going.
Yeah.
Like in the past, like being an artist was a bit of a bohemian luxurious kind of play, even though if you're still like most of them died of tuberculosis and syphilis, but like now it's like these days we don't have that luxury of bohemian life. And it was kind because you were elevated, you were seen as a different kind of person. Now the world's is overpopulated, and we're all pretty much nobody's really special in a sense. We're all special in a sense. So now it's like you know what I mean? It's like so there is a lot that has to do around the music flying. Like I've just talked to a good friend of mine, Bridget O'Regan, who's this amazing fiddler, and she says like her life consists of 80% of doing business and promotion and online stuff, and then maybe like some bunch of other stuff, and then only like 10% goes or something to actually working on music.
Yeah.
And that is the reality of most of the musicians, especially self-managing musicians. And when you are not self-managed, then you're managed by a company, and that means like you're always on tour, you're always working, and so on, so on, which has its privileges, but it's also extremely taxing on your family and your mind. So it is a hard job, because it is work. It is mostly like it is a choice. It's a choice of a career.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's a lot of it right now since we've gone online. A lot of it is just like, how do I get an audience? How much promotion I like, and like, where do I find money to promote myself? How do I like, and then every online social media is trying to exploit that right now because they know we're a bunch of hysterical people and we need to get our faces in other people's faces. So it's like they know our desperate times. So like, and then you get these messages of people who are like, oh, I could help you with your career. And I'm like, but like, oh, I have this marketing tool. And I'm like, then who the hell are you? Like, what have you done? What have you achieved? It's like,
I believe
it's a lot of,
our inboxes, I think, I'm sure yours as well, is all like, oh, let me help you get opportunities. Let's do this. I'll grow your audience. I'm like, dude, you and everybody else. Like, it's not. Th- this is not about you anymore. This is about us. Like, we're the musicians. We're the ones building our own audience.
exactly.
All up to us. Like, you can't. Yeah, whatever. You're gonna go. I don't know. Generate some followers. Like, it doesn't matter. We need to build our own community and get people to kind of enjoy what we do or become aware of what we do. And I think one of the things people don't really understand is that is the current hustle. The hustle isn't,
Yeah.
like, if you're a musician and you write music or you perform or do whatever, like, you're going to do that anyways. That's not
Yeah.
that's not being a professional musician. Being a professional musician at this point is making sure that the thing you've worked so hard to get good at and to create your art through. Whoop, I just lost you there, bud.
Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. There we go. I'm back.
Yeah, what I was saying is, this thing that you've worked so hard to get good at and to create your art through is it stops in the place where you stop promoting it. Like, when you actually,
Yeah.
that the art part stops and the business begins when you have to start getting it to people to make people aware of who you are and become a part
Yeah.
of more community, I guess.
Absolutely. Sir, my cat just came down to purr again. She's like, she's attack aggressively today.
There's a dog that sometimes will come back and forth. Probably met Bowie.
Pardon?
You probably met Bowie, Dan's dog.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Totally.
he might guest appear at some point. We'll see.
Awesome. Awesome. No, but you're absolutely right. The community sense is like we are each other's resource right now.
Yeah,
And then because all these like scam artists out there, everyone's, and it's been like the scam behind art has been there, like been forever. I just spoke to somebody recently, and they said like a lot of desperate artists used to pay a lot of money for radio play or to get their grants, and most of the people there promised them wouldn't do anything, not any work. But you can't really check on those things. It's like the exploitation has been crazy. Do you know what I mean? It's a very like art business is the most shadiest business, and artists are the most vulnerable people. It's because they're like they devote their lives, and then like when people fall, then it can lead to depression if things don't materialize. I mean, like I'm like lucky in a sense that like I've started as a busker, so when things got tough, like it was okay. Like it was not a big deal. Like might not have a phone for 3 months. Oh, big deal. Like I'll still make things work. So there's not much of dependency on things, um, but it is kind of like how can I say, just like developed kind of like a harder coat
right,
over the years,
right.
and then like if things get bad, like they kind of bounce back all the time. Knock on wood, I've never had like terrible, but as a consistency, things get bad, I like bang out a new album. That's usually what
Right.
happens. So I
Yeah,
have to get up and knock on wood here.
I do that all the time too, man. Uh,
Yeah.
it sounds to me like you've never really had a plan B.
No, no. Well, because this is so time consuming, you don't like have time to do anything else.
Yeah.
And and then like you find something you're good at or you like to do. Is just like, why do other things? It's well, and plus like I don't have kids or family to support you, so it's like that's a bonus as well. I'm not like talking shit to about anybody who's got kids and family because that's
We're somebody's kids, so I don't have kids either.
exa-
No intention of having kids, but I completely understand. I mean, obviously, it's most people like having kids. It's just how it is.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's just like there's and then I've noticed that there's a lot of people that go into like art and things, and they go to school and they get some sort of degree or come out, and they expect like, okay, this is what how much I'm going to make, this is what I'm going to do, and and it's like right away set up for this like kind of like a middle class existence. There's like I am going to be this middle class musician, and it's cool for him, but it's like those people don't necessarily creatively kind of offer anything progressive. I find the risk takers are the ones that do the crazy things. So you need the ones to suffer. You know what I mean? Like the ones just to kind of not go within any genres or become studio session dudes. You need the crazy people to make the changes or to add something to the spectrum of culture that we have worldwide. Because everybody else, yeah, I just find it like there's a lot of just like subtlety. Oh, I'll just do this, and I just want to play in restaurants or hotel lobbies first. We're like, great, but like, like, you know what I mean? Don't expect me to call you an artist. I'm just like, that's
I think there's something true there. I mean, like, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with anyone doing like, if you've got a wedding gig or you've got a
absolutely.
and that's what floats your boat. That's awesome. Same way, I've had the opportunities to do that, and it never seems to be. I can never wholeheartedly be there, and
Exactly.
like a 4 hour thing where I'm just like playing these covers that I don't care about and go, yo, that's what I want
Absolutely.
to do with my life. Like it's just not. I think it kind of if you really have the artist passion in you, it slowly kills it, and it's I used to when I was born and raised in Israel, and I moved here 10 years
Oh,
ago.
nice.
Yeah, and when I was in Israel, I was in my early 20s. I started like a guitar tutoring kind of business with a friend, and before long, it was a very well thriving business, and we taught guitar and drums and piano and all that stuff. And the
Nice.
whole goal of that business was to make money so that we can support our band, so we can go
Exactly.
and make a record. But it became so time consuming and so exhausting, and sitting there for 9 hours a day with a guitar on me, you'd think I'd be living the dream. But for me, it was or I think maybe creatively exhausting, because at the end of the day, I didn't want to touch my guitar. I just wanted to go home and
Absolutely.
you know just relax and not think about music. So that's when I kind of sort of realized, I was like, man, I should probably not teach. I should, find what I want to do in music and do that, because you know, that is the goal. That is like
Absolutely.
the point in life. But yeah, I'm glad to hear at least that, you've managed to be doing this for quite a while now. Like how long would you say you've been like full on
I
pursuing?
think like I'm 38 now, so let's say from 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a I mean it has a lot of ups and downs, but the things that I've noticed, it's funny thing you brought that up. Like I had a bunch of friends that are extremely talented people that did extremely well from
Mhm.
production or as musicians. And the pattern that I saw them is what they do instead of having steady jobs as a musician or an artist, they do things in other fields. And that frees their mind to think about music or create, but they're not getting kind of like forced upon or influenced by whatever they're doing musically by having it as a job because our mind is fragile. So let's say like if you're doing a lot of cover band stuff, like that will become what you're thinking about. It will consume you, and then you're going to start losing aspects. And that's the honest truth. Like that is no other way of thinking about it. It was like if let's say if you're a classical musician and you're practicing like basically concertos every day for 8 hours, that would be you. you become that. It's going to be harder to improvise or go to the other directions. And the only way you can go into improvisation of other things is by studying it. like once again, then you go into jazz, and then you, and it's basically the same. Like there's losing that aspect of personality. It's like, that's kind of like, but that's also a different field. Like for me, I just, that's my field, that's my world. I appreciate all the other musicians because of, like, if we don't have those people, then we have nothing to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so it's extremely important. But for me, just when people, like, sometimes, like, I did get a lot of criticism before. It's like, why don't you know these pieces? Why don't you play this? Why is this, like, that's the violinist standard? I'm like, I'm not a frigging violinist. Like, this is not my job. Like this, I get to represent what I am, who I am, and like what I have inside. That's my honest truth. That's why I exist. Like,
Yeah.
so I can't, you know what I mean? I can't be a violinist, or like I'm just simply like an improviser and composer who just happened to be an entertainer who happened to play the violin.
Yeah, the
So
violin is just an instrument. They,
exactly,
I think one of the main important things that you're kind of pointing out is it's about the artist, not about the tool. Like
exactly.
the violin is just your means of expression. You happen to be proficient in it, I'm assuming, from a young age. You know, coming from a Russian family, you probably were given in at age 2 and said like, "This
Oh
is,"
no,
you know.
I actually started in Tel Aviv. Actually, out of all cities, that's why I started studying the violin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it like about like, yeah, I lived there from like 9 to about 11, 10 and a half, 11.
Oh, there you go, fellow Israeli.
Yeah, it's like, it was, so like what happened is that like my parents wanted to get me occupied with something instead of become a juvenile delinquent. So they're like, here's, we had a neighbor who was I think he was from Tashkent, and
Mhm.
he was a violist, an altist, like, and then so they're like, here, teach our kid how to play the violin, and they got me some crappy little violin. And then like a couple of months later, I couldn't play anything. I'm like, I'm not doing this at home. I'm gonna go on the street and do this. So in Desengov, which is like right center of just this like, you remember this? Like,
Buffet, I know that street very well. It's a very main street in Tel Aviv. It's where a lot of shopping, like there's like a lot of shopping. There's like a lot of stores. There's a Dizengoff Center, so it's
yeah,
kind of like a somewhat like a Queen Street in Toronto kind of vibe.
exactly. And then Shabbat, they used to close off the street. Do they still do that?
Not really. No, not
No, no, no. It was,
like they'll close off the mall maybe or certain stores in the mall, but the street, like you can still drive
oh
it.
no, no, they used to close it off, and it was just all pedestrian over the week.
Oh yes, I don't know. I haven't
Oh,
been here in 10 years, so I haven't. When I go back, my
this was
Saturdays I don't spend in Dizengoff. So, but
exactly. But it was amazing because that was my busking area. I was just going Saturday, and the streets would be filled with people.
that's
It
amazing.
was yeah, it was a beautiful time. It was like a very vibrant early 90s. So I was in like 92, 93, 92 actually. Yeah, and it was a totally different time back then. Pre-internet, pre everything. Oh
Yes.
man.
So you said 9 to 11 you lived in Israel?
Yeah,
Wow.
like 10 and a half about. Yeah.
Wow. So it's a very kind of short period of time where you guys are kind of like in and out.
Yeah, we just like, we stayed for a bit, and then I, well, like the climate. I had some developed some lung issues, and
Wow.
um yeah, and then just wanted to change, and then like I think like it was also to do a lot with climate. Parents wanted to go to something where more familiar climate for us, coming from Russia, and then Canada was basically the same shit as Russia. Yeah,
Yeah, it seems like a very common trajectory. I know a bunch of people who did basically the same thing. But no, that's cool. I mean, it's well, it already explains a lot about, like you were born in Russia, moved to Tel Aviv for a bit in Israel, then moved to Toronto. So right there and then you've kind of already started your life as this like there's a path, there's like you're traveling a bit, you're going through this journey, not just musically but also physically. So it's cool.
exactly.
It's cool.
Yeah,
So you start around, you said like around 9 playing the violin so you don't become a delinquent.
yeah, yeah.
So
So about like, yeah, 10. and then picked it up again when we came to Canada about like 11 and a half, I think.
Nice. And you didn't learn all the classics that you needed to learn. You learned kind of what you were taught or what you wanted to learn, I guess.
Well, I went through like the more public school system,
Oh,
and because I started very late, I was not like really funneled into the whole like learning certain classical pieces that you have to. It was like, and I was very lanky. My fingers were ridiculously too long, so it was like it was like abnormally like alien hands. So it was like it was a lot more difficult to play certain things, and then, but then I found my parents found a really nice teacher, like a university student from U of T, this guy
oh,
Marty, and then he put a lot of time into me, like just like gave me like the basics down. But a lot of it came also from the street, so I had to busk. And then I was in a conservatory for a little bit, dropped out, did a lot of summer courses. But then busking was quite important, because that's where I've learned how to compose and how to understand the audience. And it's also made me an intense individual, because on the street you're competing with all the elements. So you have to be on the foreground. You also have to understand the rhythm of the street. You understand what like people are feeling like. Sometimes it's great to entertain. Sometimes it's great to irritate. Sometimes it's good to appease. Like there's all this like crazy interaction with the audience, and that became like my second language. And then from the streets, like all the major Toronto media started to pay attention. They're like, we have this busker, because
I've looked around a bit, and there's quite a few accolades and quite a few situations you found yourself in playing music that are quite impressive. So yeah, I guess you really were taken notice of.
yeah, well, it's the intensity. There was no half ground. Like that's what I say about a lot of artists. A lot of people like take like the one. I mean, it's to appease, or just to say, for me, it's just like I have to be the intensity. Like this is how my nature. It's taking me across the world, and if people can't handle it, then it's too bad. It's just like it is what it is.
Not for everybody, and that's okay. It's
Exactly.
if you don't have enemies, you don't have character.
Absolutely. And then like, and that's what I've learned, I guess, from my parents too. They said like there's always going to be 50% people are going to like you and 50% is not going to like you. And that's like that you're doing your job right. Like if you're pissing off certain people.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's when it's like spicy food, man.
Exactly.
There's a bite to it. Some people like that bite, some people don't. And those who like it will always look for it, and those who hate it will always stay away from it. And it's cool, but
You're
I,
right.
I totally agree too. Like intensity is something that a lot of people maybe don't appreciate. They don't, or they don't even necessarily consider when they go to perform. I mean, or even when just making the music. A lot of times there's I find with certain artists or certain production techniques, people tend to be a bit more apologetic, whereas you know um there are a lot of acts that are just saying no, we're just going to be as loud or obnoxious or vulgar or whatever. And I think like in modern times, it's very easy to see that we're embracing these.
Yeah.
I mean, even in pop music, because of the online format, I think it's kind of really just basically gave the middle finger to you know to the mainstream that used to rule us of not being intense.
And now a quick word from our friends and sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Hailed, which is a coffee shop located at Yonge and Gerrard in the downtown Toronto area. If you are a coffee drinker, you must try Hailed. They are ranked consistently among the top 10 coffee houses in Toronto. Visit the store and support local Toronto-based businesses. Be sure to place your order at www.hailed.ca. This episode is also brought to you by Flickly. Thank you, Richard Atkin, friend of the podcast. We really appreciate your support for the Canadian music scene. Rich is the founder and CEO of Flickly, a premier video animation studio, working with large brands and enterprises across the globe. Learn more about Rich and his work at Flickly by going to the website flickly.com, FLIKLI.com, and connect with Richard Atkin on LinkedIn.
Instead of the UN, negotiations, we'll just have like a United Nations jam.
Exactly.
Like
Absolutely.
the keyboardist from Papua New Guinea is going to now join the this section of the jam.
You know what? That would be actually really, really nice. Not like Live 8 where everyone just gets to play their hit songs, but just improvise. And you know what? Half would be a disaster, but at least it will like set some things up. Like, what key is this? I don't know. Keys? What do you guys do?
Yeah, well, I mean, also like think if we played with like people from any of the Arab nations, I mean, their scales are completely different. They're like in quarter tones and things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, they almost speak a different language, and they're like, "What do you mean? There's like a verse and a chorus? We don't do that. We have like the first section of the song that is 10 minutes, then the singer comes out, then she sings, four lines, and then we play another theme, and then she sings another four lines, and it's like it's a completely different structure system, and it's but it'd be cool. It'd be cool to just like do a lot of these things,
Totally.
mash it up.
Well, it's funny. It's like Middle East. Like, there's so much good music from Egypt that was coming out from the '70s.
Oh yeah,
Like, ridiculous. And it's exactly that. Like a 10-minute intro, and you're like really getting into it. Like, you're like, oh, this track is sick. And then the singer comes on, and you're like, wow, this is even better. And then you just went, like, it's beautiful.
they used to this guy I used to work in a studio with in Israel. He told me about this. There's like this famous orchestra. I can't remember. I think it was the Zuza Musa Orchestra. I'm not 100% sure, but it's either that or like some very famous orchestra in Egypt where like the band would be on stage, the orchestra would be, and they would start playing, and they would be playing for like 25 minutes, just completely like, just crazy stuff. And it's really intricate. And then all of a sudden, the conductor would come out, and the audience would cheer, and then he would start conducting. It's like, they couldn't have done it without him. Like they were like really stuck and confused, and all of a sudden he showed up, and he's like,
Well, because it's funny, like that says a lot about the way the culture is. Because there's probably one way for the longest time,
yeah.
and then they're like the Western aspect came in with these bands and a chef d'orchestre and conductors and stuff, and they're like, we need to integrate it to make us look legit for the Western world. So
Right.
they're like, yeah, let's just put a conductor in, and then it became a standard. But it didn't become a necessity; it became like part of the show.
I
You're
know
absolutely right.
they sort of
So,
embrace the showmanship of it all. Uh,
absolutely.
right. It's kind of interesting how little like and rightfully so, not rightfully so, but I would say like I can understand why like people here don't necessarily know anything about
Absolutely.
the type of music and the type of uh practices it takes, like the discipline that it takes to become a musician in the world of Arab music, or in the world of Indian music, like Hindu music, or like, I mean, these are very big generalizations because every region
Yeah.
has its own type of music, but it
Absolutely.
the thing that we know as Western music is a very small portion of what actually happens in the world, and
Absolutely.
it's such a crazy thing sometimes to me to think like I know theory and things like that because I've always been interested in it, and I went through like a proper music program,
Yeah.
but knowing what I know how much I don't know, just because of
Absolutely.
how much we're limited to Western music. But then when you look at everything that's outside of it, it's like, oh my God, like
Oh yeah.
there's people talking to aliens with their music, and we're just,
Absolutely. And it's so attainable. That's the thing. It's all out there.
yeah,
Like, so like going back to kind of like the thesis of your podcast, like the premise of it. I mean, a lot of it is also exposing yourself to all this stuff of music. Like, I mean, exposing, but like devoting yourself. Like, that's why traveling was so important for musicians.
yeah,
Now it's like because of this COVID thing, I feel like we're limiting ourselves to like a little percentage of what we can actually see, like of like these little videos of people just wanking, like whether it's like music, you know what I mean? Just like, here, let me play you this song, but a part of it or a cover. And it's become like everything is just like the status. Like, I'm so tired of, honestly, I'm sick and tired of covers. like when I got into this music whatever business, like as a violinist and electric violinist, it was like Canada had like Nash the Slash and had like these crazy leading electric violinists, and even like, let's say Jean-Luc Ponty or something before, even though it's not my favorite, but people were badass and
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Now it's just like, oh, I'm gonna just play this like dumbass like Billie Eilish cover or whatever, like it's just, and that's not, that is it, I don't know, it irritates me. And like people are like, but I like to do this, and I'm like, yeah, but electric violin is a badass instrument. Why is it the cheesiest freaking like musical toy around? Like that's what it's become. You know what I mean?
I
And it's
I think if um you probably know of I think they're called Yellow Cab or Yellow,
oh yeah, totally. Back
like
in the day, yeah,
the punk rock band that had like a violinist in there. And
yeah,
you know, even though the violin wasn't like necessarily it wasn't like the main focus, but it was just, you knew that this was a band who had like really good like pop punk kind of songs, but they had
absolutely.
a violinist, and there wasn't a note out of place. It sounded pretty freaking
Oh
amazing.
yeah,
I was like, oh, okay, like yeah, of course you could. I mean, why would you not be able to do that? I mean, freaking Metallica went and did like a whole show with the symphony orchestra. So yes,
absolutely.
it works. And then you've got like you probably know of Apocalyptica, who are, you know, they just kind of play like a lot of
Of course, yeah.
they
All the
play a lot of
Metallica
rock and
covers.
metal covers, you know, but on cellos. You know, so it's definitely like those things are there.
Totally.
You can definitely go and reimagine what your instrument should be doing. I just think that a lot of people, you know, go for the lowest hanging fruit, and yeah, they'll go and whatever, play a cover of a very well known song to a trap beat or something. I don't know.
Exactly. It's like that's what like people are now expecting from electronic violin and instruments. That's the problem that I have. Like, is just like that's what they want. So that's why I'm like not taking like most of the gigs because like this is what we want. I'm like, well, that's not what I do. So it's like if you want something awesome, which is kind of nice. Like I still have like ridiculous amounts of shows every year, and that's what it says. Like the world has places for everybody.
Yeah,
And then so if for younger musicians, I feel frustrated because some idiots online are telling them like, to make it you have to do this. Don't listen. Look inside you, figure out what you like to do. Even if you piss people off, prepare like maybe not to do so well for a little bit, but get yourself out there. There is a place. The world is huge.
yeah.
Like when I started, somebody brought this idea to me. Like I think it was called like roughly. I can't really give it justice, but it said it's like the Japanese marketing principle
Okay.
that there is at least 1,000 people who like what you do if you bring it out to the world, and from then on it can grow.
I really like that concept because it's true. I mean, you know, it's just about putting enough work into it that those thousand people will actually hear you. Like those
Absolutely,
thousand people are there that are going to like it from the get go. They're going to get it. They're going to be into it. They're going to want more of it, and then hopefully it's good enough that it would, you know, they will bring their friends in and say like, check this thing out, and you know, anything
absolutely.
that's going to attract 1,000 people will probably attract 10,000 people.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's that's the thing, like, and it gives you a bit of confidence too. Like I remember when I was like also getting started, like I had a lot of cool friends, and one of them was just like this really hardcore gangster friend, and he taught me like one thing. I was came back from I think Houston, Texas, because I had some violin off with some like one of these like violin starlets. This girl's like gonna come up in the industry, and she's like trying to do all this like sexy violin nonsense, and like and I came back and I'm just like I'm so tired of getting these messages from people that want to like fight me like or compete with me, and I'm just like this is annoying. Like it's just like and then he was just like he's like dude, there's no competition. The world is huge, and I like he's like everyone has their place. Don't
Yeah,
ever don't stress yourself about it. And thank God like I had good homies, good friends when I was like 18, 19 to give me that kind of like schooling or just like don't stress about these things, just always be yourself,
yeah,
always be yourself creatively. And it's like it's better to inspire than kind of be like sheep and like follow somebody. You know what I mean? I just find it like I'm just harsh on people. I feel like it's time for a lot of artists just to like to realize that they're being like lied to because they've been told what they should do. And the reality is they're not like kind of listening to themselves as much. So there's this very like big like low confidence. I just saw a friend recently, for example, and she's phenomenal artist,
Mhm.
badass, and so on. And then she was doing a thing which was like kind of trying to follow like the whole pop string musician kind of thing. And I'm looking at her and I feel her like something her essence in a sense. Like, and I'm like, you are metal. You're dark. You're metal. Like, this is who you are. Like, and she is. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, don't be afraid. Don't try to be the star of the thing. Like, you are metal. You love that. You're hardcore and you love hip hop. Like, this is your thing. Bring those together. Be who you are. And then she like just did this track like a week ago. And I was like, wow, that's it right away. Two different worlds. I mean, you can dabble and do things you like, but like once you hit that, like this is me, then you're like, it's a world of a difference. People are like, yeah, that's like they can relate to you. They can see your honesty in a sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I think more than ever, people can see through anything that's not genuine because it's there's only so much you can do with something that's, you know, quote unquote fake. Or if it's not fake, it's at least not, it's not all the way. And I think because of that, you really want, like, nobody's looking for anything that's like halfway anymore because we've seen it
yeah,
all. We've seen bands that are sort of this or sort of that. Like,
exactly.
I think our consumption of art in general is becoming a lot more niche, and everybody's got their own taste. And now you can find exactly what you want because somebody's doing it. And
Excuse me.
if it's, you know, so if you have this thing that you're like very particular about, you should go like you say, you should go and do it because
Exactly.
there's for sure, you know, if only by the pure luck of math, there's going to be somebody out there who's looking just for that. So go do that,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And like, and over promote and saturate the world with your face. And that's like, there's nothing wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, there's different sense of like a hysterical performance that people are just like, I want to put this out to get work.
Hmm.
And it works for a lot of wedding musicians, for example. And
Sure.
like, you know what I mean? And so there's certain things you kind of want to do. But like, excuse me. When I started, oh my god, years ago, I wanted to write because I like playing weddings for friends or for
Right.
like great clients or like or if there's a connection because you're like whatever wherever you are, you're guaranteed an audience.
Yeah.
Like and then you can go in and perform like wow all these people.
Yeah.
And it's nice sometimes to go in those environments and do something atypical because people ask you to do these things. I would like this and that. Like, great. Okay. I usually just say like, no, I'll just stick to my thing. I might appease one song. If I like a song, I would learn it and have fun with it. But I don't play stuff I don't want to. I'm like, this is not, my heart's not in it. I realize I'm not ever going to do that ever in my life. If I
Like,
don't like this
like
song,
people are going to remember your wedding.
exactly, absolutely. And that's why like I've done like crazy weddings across the world and like and interesting. Then you're like you're one of a kind because anyone can hire any violinists out there and give them a bunch of like songs to play and then they can do that. I can refer it to great artists that do that.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like I can't do that. Like I feel like I'm bullshitting in front of an audience. Like I'll give you because of the way that works. Sorry, I'm totally a little getting off topic, but what I try to also give a lot of younger musicians advice is that you have to put yourself in a trance when you're performing. Before you're able to do anything, like you have to get comfortable,
Yeah.
and that's what I learned from busking. Like calm, like your heart beat down, take a breath in, like just do a little bit of something really simple before you attack the audience. Like just before you're about to slay them, say a few nice words. Like bring them down, then go for it. And I'm like, trust me, I've learned it the hard way. Like I've like a lot of tricks is like sometimes you go in like heat it up and you just want to do it. Like and that was like that was me in my teenage self, which is like mentally not long ago, but it's like so there's like you don't want to kind of like you know what I mean. So now I figure out a way like how do I bring them in? Like, how do I be able to kind of like and put myself at ease that you're like, oh, everything's because it's like stress. We all get stressed before. Like, I don't care who says our people are like overly confident or sociopathic. Everyone gets stressed before they're going on stage, one way or another.
Natural. There could be so many reasons why you're nervous. This might be, I remember finishing a 31 show tour,
Oh
and
wow.
having like one of the last shows, not the last one, but one of the last shows where it's like, all right, we know the drill. We've done this now 29 times, in various spots in Canada. I think we know the drill. I was still nervous because it might be a new city. It might be we may have thrown in a new song. Like I don't know. Maybe I used a new pedal. It could be so many different things. But I think the day that I don't get a little nervous is when I'll be like, I'm
Yeah.
not enjoying this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, it's funny how you say this. I think you touched on something really, really important. As a community during this hard time, like for example, this podcast like stimulates me, stimulates a lot of other people out there. You're a part of this community. You initiate things. What's going to happen is that like when we're going to start feeling like blasé and not getting stressed or not feeling this, like we have to request things from other performers at this point. Like get people out there, like a lot of people are hiding and just like request people to do live streams or go on things regularly, like
Yeah.
get friends active, see that we care about other people's existence, because like a lot of people are just kind of are going to be, want to say, but going to be losing it a bit. Like it's true, it's hard without a stage, like
I think we all are in a way. Maybe it's not showing on the surface yet. I mean, I remember when COVID first started, for the first couple of months, I was like, first of all, we didn't know how long it's going to be, so I thought it was going to be way less than what it is now.
yeah,
So I was like, all right, and I had just played my first show with my current and new band, which Mike played with us. And that first show went so well, and we were so pumped. And I was like, here we go. And like, we're just ready to hit everything really hard. And then, boom, everything shuts down. And I was like, man, that's just my luck. And it really kind of bummed me out for a couple of days, but then I snapped out of it. And I was like, you know what? Like, it is what it is. You got to roll with it. We did a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other content, new songs, new music, whatever. It's all good. But and I kind of let it slide. It didn't really bug me that much. I was like, it is what it is. You got to deal with it. And man, we're in the middle of October, and I got to tell you, for the last 3-4 weeks, it started to really affect me. I've
yeah,
been feeling it. The whole like not playing shows, not being out there. It's I'm starting to feel the effects, and I'm sure that just like me, there's so many others. Especially, I don't even want to imagine people who are like a bigger band who just put so much money into a new record, and they were just
yeah,
about to go on a big tour and like promote the record or sell tickets to pay for what they just recorded. And
exactly.
so about that, it's
Yeah, like,
stressful.
it is extremely stressful. You're absolutely right. So I think that's like, yeah, outside of like, yeah, we need to help out a lot of homies out there right now.
Yeah,
That's important. And like that, I was like lucky that this summer, because I've had like for all these years like helped out or booked people for stuff like, and then things started to come back.
yeah,
Initiatives, which was really nice. Like extremely lucky to have friends that I have. Like honestly, if it wasn't for my crew, like I would probably just be like super depressed all the time.
yeah.
It's like it's been wonderful. Like Mike's been absolutely amazing too. Like that's the thing. What I love about like my crew right now is that no one's complaining. Everyone's in it together. Like we're like okay, like I mean complaining in the sense like oh there's conditions or something. Like everyone's so kind, especially kind to me. Like and then it's been really 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 wonderful. Like there's like nothing I can literally say negative about like the circumstance. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I mean it's just like live through it, but like I bet you like 90% are not lucky as I am in a sense. So I have to figure
Well,
out how to.
one of the only people I know who actually sort of played shows during this period. Um, your last one, I was supposed to go to, and then obviously like things got canceled. But you're just playing really close to where I live, so
Oh
my,
no! Oh, you're in the East End.
yeah,
Sick.
Yeah, Mike was going. Yeah, we're gonna be at Danforth and Greenwood, I think it was, or Toronto
Yeah.
Greenwood or something like that. And I was like, oh yeah, like we're really close. We're at Victoria Park, so we'll come. And then you know it got canceled last minute. But yeah, I mean, still, I've having followed the band and everything, I know that you guys have done a couple of things, and it's awesome, and you are really lucky. And I think that the people who are playing with you are also very grateful because they know that they're not a part of the statistic right now. They're one of the few lucky ones, you know, who actually get to play live music these days, and it's a big deal. So first of all, good for you guys for actually doing it,
Oh
and
yeah.
good
Oh
for
no, for
you.
sure.
Whatever circumstances got you booked and got you, rolling with this stuff. I mean, but like you said, you've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
pretty
there's an
steady state.
infrastructure. Like, cause I when it started happening, all the stuff going down, like I was thinking about contacting a lot of people, and then from what worked out, I think like this is like 10% of what actually the word got out that worked out.
Yep.
So there's so many ideas of going to doing even a little tour, and then I paired up with a circus company. My friend just came to me, Kiki, and she's like, "Let's do this together." And I've been providing music for a lot of circus performers in the city for such a long time. So, anyways, and then so basically, like a lot of those plans didn't work out because in reality, it's a lot harder to pull things off when you're like doing things for basically peanuts again. Like you're trying to figure it out, like getting people motivated to go up and play for like 30, 40 bucks. It's like, it was difficult, but my band, my crew was just like, they're there for it. Like I was lucky to like, I didn't have to convince anybody, be like, we should do this. And like, no, they're like, let's do this. Like it was, yeah, I'm in. I've honestly, like, I haven't had like a solid crew like this that were like so kind hearted to be
Maybe.
able to like, because it would have sucked. Like it would have really sucked if I'm just like, come on guys, let's do this. No, I don't know if it's gonna work out. We shouldn't do this. And like, because I had those incidents before, and I'm like, we have one job. We got one thing we gotta do. Yeah, you know what I'd say. Like,
No, no, I mean, yeah, I do believe you're very lucky in that sense. But at the same time, like it's not just luck. It's also you've laid the groundwork. You've done everything you could to make sure that wherever you end up in life, be it at your fault or not, in this case, not at your fault, you'll still find you'll find some sort of way through it. And I think that's if anything, it's just a really really valuable lesson in survival. And
exactly.
I wish more people did that, and they were just kind of a bit more self-sufficient in that sense. I'm no example. I'm very lucky to have management and an agent and a label and backers, and but
Nice.
I'm also very lucky because they're super supportive of what we do, and they don't
Amazing.
get involved in the music. They're just like, if they have anything to say, it's a positive, constructive thing that is helpful, not by any means like something that stops you from being who you are. And if anything, it helps us more. But yeah, I totally understand like how you've just looked at it and said like, I've got to be able to control this on my own. I've got to be able to make
Yeah.
my own future. And good for you for doing it. And for those of you listening and watching, listen and learn. But
Thanks.
awesome. Listen, dude,
Oh,
I could,
thanks,
I
dude.
could talk to you for like 5 more hours, but we're gonna run
Totally.
out of disc space. But you know what? We'll do this again.
Let's
Uh,
do it. Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about just like everything that you've gone through. I mean, we haven't even touched on like you being, you playing in Hong Kong and you playing in like all these places. So I'm gonna bug you about that next time.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, today's like massive clean day. So if you've heard sounds in the back, it's just my girlfriend steaming the floors right now. So it's like,
Well, listen, I think everybody during this time is just doing everything on the wild side, and I'm
exactly
not gonna
right.
lie, I kind of love it. That's one
Oh,
positive that comes out of it.
totally, dude.
So,
Yeah, well, I could see that in your spirit. Like, you're my type of people. That's awesome. Oh,
likewise.
dude. Yeah, let's keep in touch. Absolutely. And you know what? I have one last thing to say. I think, which is just an idea that came to my head. And you had said like yellow cab and something. And oh, was it yellow? Yeah, yellow cart. Yellow cart. What?
Card-
Oh man.
Yellow card or yellow cab? That band that plays Ocean Avenue.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like Man, and we should like I want to form a punk band, like a dirty punk band, where like half of the stuff I play is not even an instrument that I know how to play. Like I'll pick up bass or something like that, and then just like yeah, and Sonic Youth it up for a bit because it's just like pick up instruments you don't know how to play,
Hey
and
man,
then
there's always room to try new things, so I'm down.
exactly awesome, brother, man, pleasure. Thanks for having me on your show, dude.
Thanks so much for coming out. I'll put the links to all your stuff on the description. I can't wait to catch you play live sometime soon. As also, I'll be seeing Mike playing with you. So, yeah. But otherwise, dude, keep healthy, safe, and a healthy dose of insane. And
Yeah,
yeah, brother, we'll see you soon. We'll talk to you.
awesome, brother, man. Pleasure. I'll see you soon, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.